Good evening, good evening. What's going on, folks? Is this not, hold on for a second. This is not registered. Hold up. Mic check, mic check, mic check. Hold up. Can everybody hear me okay? For those chiming in, doing a mic check. Seeing if folks can actually hear me. Hey, can folks hear me? Those that have chimed in. Those that Okay. I just checked the feed. All right, cool deal. Good evening, good evening. Sorry about that. Welcome to another Carolina Panthers Talk Live, brought to you by Blitzball Champ Gaming here on the U to the Tube. I'm your host, Blitzball Champ Jason Ingram. So, hope everybody is doing well. Happy Valentine's Day to all the couples out there, and even to all the single folks as well. Hope everybody's been enjoying their day and just thinking positive, keeping their head up, and also spending time with your loved ones. So, shout out to all of those out there celebrating Valentine's Day. Hope the day has been great for everybody. Anyways, so I wanted to get on here and talk about the recent acquisitions for the Carolina Panthers coaching staff. So we're going to talk a little bit more about the adding of Duce Staley, since that just became official. But Carolina has added another big name to the squad as well. Coach Jim Caldwell added to the coaching staff. Wow. Now, I don't know about y'all, but I gotta keep it real. This coaching staff is really starting to shape up. Let me check something. I don't know why I'm not. Oh, that's weird. I can't see the chat on my computer, but I can see it on my phone. Wow, that's weird. Hey, Mactown Tony, I see you. Welcome to the stream. That is really weird. It's like the chat's not appearing. Oh, wow. Okay, I see it now. I'm such a dum-dum. I had it set to top chat instead of live chat. I can see it now. Sorry about that. Okay, I see you, Mactown Tony. And okay, you can hear me. You just came on my lunch break. Cool. Another week, season over. Yes, y'all, this coaching staff is really shaping up. I mean, they're going in hard, y'all, on this coaching staff. Like, Steve Wilkes. Steve who? Steve who? I'm just saying. Don't get me wrong. I know a lot of people like Steve Wilkes, but I mean, look at what we're working with now. I mean, this is a lot to get excited about. You know what I mean? So we're gonna dive in to the discussion about both of these hires. We're going to start off with Duce Staley. So, Duce Staley, so it was already said not too long ago that he was joining the coaching staff, but we now know that it's official and we know what he's going to be doing. So, Duce Staley will be the running backs coach and an assistant head coach as well. So, hey, somebody that was a former running back, of course, won a Super Bowl. So I definitely like this hire for our running backs coach. So Frank Wright has also worked with Duce Staley. Of course, they worked together in Philadelphia for the Super Bowl title back in 2017. So chemistry there. But let's break it down through these articles. And like I said, I've linked the articles into the description. Everything is from Panthers.com, the home website. So definitely check those out if you want to follow along. Quick mention before we continue further, be sure to check out the link in the description for Game Beauty for an awesome lineup of video game themed makeup and cosmetic products. And if you're interested in making a purchase, be sure to use the promo code Blitzballchamp, all in caps, and you can get 10% off of your order. So be sure to check that out in the description. Okay, let's continue. Duce Staley, 47 years old, from Columbia, South Carolina, had a 10-year NFL career. Of course, played for the Philadelphia Eagles, played for the Pittsburgh Steelers, won a Super Bowl with the Pittsburgh Steelers, finished with a career 5,785 rushing yards and 24 touchdowns, and had 3 1,000-yard rushing seasons with the Philadelphia Eagles. So he's done some damage as a player for sure. But yeah, so he's also Duce Staley has worked alongside our quarterbacks coach, Josh McCown, with the Eagles as well. So there's a lot of familiarity in this coaching staff. I mean, Frank Wright, it's like he's bringing his crew, bringing his friends along for the ride. Coach Avero bringing his folks along for the ride. Because remember, we picked up, Peter Hansen and also Dom Capers. So, we're gathering up a lot of these folks into this bundle, this great bundle with a powerful coaching staff. It's amazing. David Screws, welcome to the stream. This is an epic coaching staff, and we aren't even done hiring everyone yet. You got me pumped. Me too, brother. Me too. Damog, welcome to the stream. Steelers legend Duce Staley. That's right. Won a Super Bowl with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Indeed. That's right. Damog's a Steelers fan as well. Y'all beat the crap out of us. But we'll get you. We'll get you someday. We'll get you someday. But let's dive into the 5 things to know about Duce Staley. We'll get to Jim Caldwell. We'll get to him. But we're going to do a focus on Duce Staley first. Okay. 5 things to know about Duce Staley. So 10 years of experience in the NFL as a player and 12 years of experience as a coach in the NFL. And he was recently assistant head coach and running backs coach in Detroit for the past 2 seasons. All right. 5 facts to know about Duce Staley. Number 1, leading the Lions run game. It says here, Duce Staley spent his last 2 seasons leading running backs in Detroit, working under Dan Campbell. He helped Detroit's rush game consistently improve, going from 4.42 yards per rush in 2021 to 4.5 in 2022. Marks ranked 15th in the NFL and the Lions' best since 1998. Woo! He helped develop Detroit's Jamal Williams into one of the NFL's top rushers in his 6th season, as Williams slashed career highs and put up his first 1,000 yards rushing season in 2022. Williams finished the season with the most rushing touchdowns in the league with 17 and the 11th most rushing yards with 1,066. I mean, For somebody that once played running back and that's been coaching running backs, credibility right there. Credibility right there. Number 2, a Super Bowl win with Frank Reich, our new head coach. Before moving on to Detroit, Duce Staley spent 10 years on staff in Philadelphia, where he also spent a large chunk of his playing career. Staley and Reich coached together from 2016 to 2017 when Reich was the offensive coordinator and Staley coached the running backs. The two helped the Eagles reach their Super Bowl win for the 2017 season, and Staley was then promoted to an assistant head coach in addition to overseeing the running backs. In entirety, Staley was on the Eagles coaching staff from 2011 to 2020, starting as a special teams quality control coach from 2011 to 2012 before spending the rest of his tenure coaching the running backs. So he just had to wait for an opportunity, but once he got his hands on coaching the running backs, the rest was history. Number 3, playing history. It says Duce Staley played a decade in the NFL before transitioning to coaching. A versatile running back with pass-catching ability. Staley was drafted by the Philadelphia Eagles in the 3rd round of the 97 draft after finishing his college career at the University of South Carolina. That's right, he was a Gamecock. He played for the Eagles through 2003, battling various injuries before landing at Pittsburgh ahead of the 2004 season. Duce Staley ended up winning a Super Bowl with the Pittsburgh Steelers in the 2005 season, though he was limited for much of the run due to injury. But he ended up retiring as a Philadelphia Eagle in December of 2007. So, like I said, this was a running back that my brother was a big fan of over the years. I mean, played for the longest time with the Philadelphia Eagles, and I just thought it was pretty neat that not only did he get a chance to play for the Philadelphia Eagles, but also coach for the Philadelphia Eagles. So I mean, hey, that's gotta be like the dream there. Number 4, Carolina roots. Duce Staley was born and raised in West Columbia, South Carolina, nearby his alma mater, South Carolina, and about 90 minutes from Charlotte. He attended Airport High School in West Columbia and was an all-state wide receiver, playing limited snaps at running back in high school. Staley played college football for the Gamecocks until '96. His son, Damani Staley, graduated from Ridgeview High School in Columbia and played linebacker at South Carolina from 2017 to 2021. Got football in his family. And number 5, his own combine drill. It says Duce Staley has had a combine drill named after him since 2020. The Duce Staley drill tests a runner's ability to change direction in a small space. The drill is set up with 3 bags on the ground to form the shape of a letter T. Players step over the bags from the left side at first, then finish the drill in reverse before running up the field on either the right or left based on where the coach is lined up. Staley told the Eagles team website in 2020 he first created the drill in 2014 to maintain running back Darren Sproles' foot quickness after he was acquired via trade from the Saints. Interesting info. But there you have it. 5 things to know about Duce Staley according to Panthers.com. Now, one would have to imagine the possibilities of what we could do at the running back position. I mean, we saw how good Deonta Foreman played this past season, and somebody that I would definitely consider Carolina bringing back. I also believe somebody that can help mentor Chuba Hubbard as well. You know, I still think there's a lot of room for improvement for Chuba Hubbard as well, but he's been making some strides. But honestly, I feel like whatever running backs we have, I think being coached under Duce Staley, I think will definitely be beneficial in a big way. So, yeah, what do y'all think about Duce Staley? Assistant head coach and our running backs coach. Thoughts on Duce Staley? Let me hear y'all in the chat. Because I like the hire. I definitely like the hire. I mean, somebody that's been successful as a running back, has won a Super Bowl, has ran hard, very versatile, and somebody that's coached the running back position very well. So honestly, I think this is a big win. And being that he has ties with Frank Wright going back to Philadelphia, chemistry. I mean, I understand at the time Frank Reich was offensive coordinator, but still, I would imagine that the chemistry is still going to be there. You know, Frank Reich being head coach, I mean, he's going to do his thing, but definitely the chemistry is there for sure. So I think it's an incredible hire. And like I said, regardless of what running backs we have going into next season, I think he can definitely make an impact coaching up the running backs for sure. Okay. So I know in past streams mentioned about Jim Caldwell. Of course, you know, he had interviewed as a head coaching position. And I had mentioned that overall, I like Jim Caldwell. My whole thing was just his age. I mean, he's 68 years old. So, I mean, he's up there in age. But honestly, I thought that ship had sailed. But sure enough, not the case. As the Panthers have also added more experience and have agreed to terms on bringing in Coach Jim Caldwell to be the senior assistant, who's going to report directly to Frank Wright and will help on all three sides of the ball: offense, defense, and special teams. All three, the triple threat. Senior assistant is going to help with the triple threat. Woo! I tell you, this is exciting. And quite a lot of background on Jim Caldwell. So we're going to get into the 5 things to know about Coach Jim Caldwell. So, 5 things to know about Jim Caldwell. Number 1, Super Bowl rings. Did y'all hear that? Super Bowl rings. Plural, with an S at the end. One more time for the folks in the back. Super Bowl rings. Plural. Jim Caldwell has been a staff member for 2 Super Bowl wins. First in 2006 with the Indianapolis Colts as an assistant head coach and quarterbacks coach under head coach Tony Dungy. And again as offensive coordinator with the Ravens and coach John Harbaugh in 2012. With the Colts, Caldwell worked with Peyton Manning at quarterback. Peyton Manning, a 2-time Super Bowl quarterback. And he coached Joe Flacco in Baltimore's Super Bowl season. I'm going to check out Vietnam's comment while y'all absorb that. Vietnam, welcome to the stream. He says, it seems like to me that all we need to do is give these all-star coaches as much talent as possible to train. I'm excited for the next few seasons. I highly agree with you. I can't wait to see what kind of talent that we add to this roster when it comes to player personnel. It's definitely a lot to look forward to. They have really hit the gas hard on putting together this coaching staff. And they still got some more spots to fill. They still got more spots to fill. Oh, they're not done yet. They're not done yet. So, but they're making some really good moves. Let's continue. Number 2, the Frank Reich connection. It says Jim Caldwell first connected with Reich in 2006 when Reich started his coaching career as an intern under Tony Dungy in Indianapolis. At the time, Caldwell was working as an assistant head coach and quarterbacks coach. When Caldwell succeeded Dungy following his retirement in 2009, Reich moved in to coach the quarterbacks under first-time NFL coach Caldwell. The two coached together through 2011. A lot of chemistry there between Frank Reich and Jim Caldwell, especially both getting a chance to work under Tony Dungy. Woo! Number 3, leading the Indianapolis Colts. Jim Caldwell found early success at the helms of the Colts, making a run to the Super Bowl behind a 14-2 regular season record in his first year as head coach. Indianapolis earned the top seed in the AFC, but they did lose to the Saints in the Super Bowl, which, Drew Brees' one ring. The Colts made another playoff run in Caldwell's second season, winning the AFC South with a 10-6 record, but they lost to the Jets in the wild card round. Indianapolis went 2-14 in his last year there after Manning missed the season while undergoing neck surgeries. It really sucked for them when Peyton Manning went down. And, many can say that highly contributed to that 2-14 record. But the man has had quite a bundle of success as a head coach, among other positions as well. Number 4, he wasn't just done with the Indianapolis Colts. He also coached up the Detroit Lions. And that's fact number 4. It says Jim Caldwell returned to being a head coach after winning a Super Bowl as the Ravens offensive coordinator, taking over the job at Detroit from 2014 to 2017. He led the Lions to 2 playoff appearances and 3 winning seasons, with his tenure ending in a 36-28 .563 record. That was his record. They had made the playoffs once in the 14 years prior to his arrival. Caldwell's winning percentage was the best for a head coach in Detroit since Buddy Parker in the 1950s. In the 5 years since he was fired, the Lions have posted a 26-54-2 record, which I don't care what anybody says. If there was any organization that screwed him over, it was the Detroit Lions organization, because they had no business letting that man go in the first place. No business letting him go from Detroit in the first place. It's a shame. It's really a shame how dirty they did Jim Caldwell. It's a shame. You'd have some of the organization's best seasons as soon as you hired Jim Caldwell. And instead of riding that and building on that more and more with the opportunities, especially being the fact that he had winning seasons with Detroit, they freaking let him go. I will never understand that, but it is what it is. And then number 5, college history. It says before his NFL coaching career began as quarterbacks coach at Tampa Bay in 2001, Caldwell had a long career as a college football coach. He took various assistant coaching jobs at 6 different schools, including Colorado, Louisville, and Penn State, before he became the head coach for the Wake Forest Demon Deacons from 1993 to the year 2000. Though he didn't have the same kind of success at Wake Forest, record of 26-63, he has established himself as an NFL coach. I find it kind of interesting, Not a great record as a college coach, but an even better record as an NFL coach. I mean, you would think that would have translated from college to the pros, but I mean, when he got to the pros and got a chance to, learn with the best of them as a quarterbacks coach and all that, I think he picked up a lot of wisdom and knowledge. And therefore, he ended up turning into a great coach. But like I said, my only minor thing with him in the first place was mainly just his age. He's up there in age. That's all. But wowzers. But yeah, how are y'all feeling about the Jim Caldwell hire? And as a matter of fact, let me pull up how our coaching staff looks now. Hold up. Let's actually take a look at how this staff is shaping up. So let's see. Okay, let's break it down. So we got Frank Wright, head coach, Duce Staley, assistant head coach or assistant coach, and running backs coach. Okay. Jim Caldwell, senior assistant. Dom Capers, senior defensive assistant. Josh McCown, quarterbacks coach. Peter Hansen, linebackers coach. Ejiro Evero, defensive coordinator. And like I said, we're retaining James Campen as offensive line coach. We're retaining Chris Tabor as special teams coordinator. Am I missing anybody? Y'all let me know if I'm missing anybody. I don't think I'm missing anybody. But I think that's everybody. Kevin McFarland. Hello. I love all the coaches except Dom Capers. I think we could have gotten someone different. And hopefully we can get Brian Johnson for offensive coordinator. What don't you like about the Dom Capers hire? I mean, Dom Capers, another Super Bowl as a coordinator, but 3 decades worth of head coaching experience. Not only that, coaching 28 players to make the Pro Bowl 46 times. Kevin says he was not super good as our first head coach. We made the NFC Championship in the second year of him as a head coach. Like, what? John Fox was much better. Yeah, that's arguable. That's arguable. Yeah, that's arguable. But I wouldn't say that he wasn't super good. I mean, I don't know. Second year. Now, if you ask me, I felt like he fell apart a little bit when he was coaching the Houston Texans. But honestly, I felt like he did fine for Carolina. But, I mean, if anything, I mean, look at what else he's been able to produce. Like Pro Bowlers coached by him. 3 decades of coaching experience. That's a lot. That is a lot. But what it really looks like now that I'm looking at what our coaching staff looks like, I see 2 things. One, Frank Reich bringing on some experienced buddies. And two, a lot of familiar faces when it comes to the Carolina Panthers franchise. I mean, Dom Capers, Josh McCown, Frank Reich, a lot of familiar names there. He was always looking at his clipboard while on the field. Wait, who? John Fox or Dom Capers? I was thinking more of I'd say, oh, okay. I was about to say, I was like, oh, okay, because I remember Fox was pretty. He was pretty. He got hyped quite a lot. That's one thing I'll say about John Fox. He gets hyped. I just hope he does something with our talent. I believe they will. I really believe they will. And like I said, Kevin, he's coached great talent under his years. So, I mean, I really think the talent's going to shape up pretty well. When you have elite coaching like what we have right now, especially on paper, and the word is Josh McCown really likes C.J. Stroud and would love to coach C.J. Stroud. So, something like that. You remember the old Steelers coach? He was good. Oh, you're talking about Bill Cowher? Yeah, Bill Cowher was good. Agreed. Yeah, Bill Cowher was good. Indeed. But now, I mean, just this staff is looking super strong. This staff looks elite. I mean, when it all comes down to it, I think what is on a lot of our minds is who's going to be offensive coordinator. That still remains to be seen. Who is going to be offensive coordinator? Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that Frank Wright, won't call the plays. That's still very possible, and some would say maybe likely. But I'm very curious. Very curious. Kevin says the thing about finding a quarterback that most people don't realize is everyone would like to have a Drew Brees at quarterback, and that just is not likely. Unfortunate. Well, why do you say that exactly? Why do you say that exactly? But that is why a dream team is hard to achieve with the talent. The quarterback talent in 2010 was amazing. That is a good point. That is a very good point. That is a very good point. Vietnam says it kills me to keep hearing about all of this talent that this team has. We got stomped by every good team we played last year. The only team that we beat with a winning record was Detroit. We beat the Seahawks and the Bucks. They were in the playoffs though. What about them, Vietnam? We beat them. They were in the playoffs. I mean, we beat the Bucks the first time. We lost the second time, but I mean, we beat at least two teams that made the playoffs. Detroit was good. Detroit was definitely good. They came close to making the playoffs, but that was because Detroit couldn't stop the run. Every team that could beat us senseless. Detroit hung in there. I mean, they put up 23 points. They hung in there, but we just put up way more in that game. I mean, 37 points. We put way more points up in that game. Kevin says, because it is hard to achieve a diamond in the rough. A Drew Brees-like quarterback is unlikely to come through a draft again. Look how Matt Jones have turned out. Wait a minute, though, but Drew Brees ain't the only diamond in the rough, though. Drew Brees ain't the only one. Like, as time goes on, there will be more. There have been plenty of diamonds in the roughs. Look at Patrick Mahomes, who just won a second championship. No, it's okay. You're a Drew Brees fan. It's okay. It's okay. You're a Drew Brees fan. It's okay. Don't hide it. I actually don't even understand how we beat Brady the first time. And how did you think of the Greg Olsen announcing the Super Bowl? Oh, he did a fantastic job. Yeah, Vietnam says I forgot about them. And the thing is, Vietnam, I'll give you this. It was definitely easy to forget about that first victory over the Bucks that we trounced them in due to how badly we lost the second time. See, one thing I will say, yeah, we only lost by 6 points to the Bucks the second time around, but it really felt like that score should have been like 40-14, which is how badly the defense did. I'm surprised that game wasn't like 40-14. But and they couldn't stop the run. Teams that could stop the run beat us, which is clear. I mean, examples like the Ravens, examples like the Steelers, they stopped the run and they definitely beat us. So, yeah, that is good points. But I blame part of that being to the fact that the team was pretty one-dimensional throughout the season. I mean, the run game, we looked great, but that's it. I mean, the Panthers' offense this season was very one-dimensional. I mean, it's kind of shocking in a way that we ended up with a 7-10 record and not worse. But we got rid of Matt Rule, so that helped. Replaced Matt Rule with Steve Wilkes. That helped. That definitely helped. Kevin says everyone likes Breeze. He is a great guy and was an unbelievable player on the field. I think he was one of the most dynamic quarterbacks to ever play the game. His passing yards in 2011, him and Stafford were killing it. Yeah. Although, outside of football, he said some stuff, which of course he apologized for. So I don't know if there are some out there still not over that. But, he did apologize for that. But yes, an incredible quarterback. Definitely an incredible quarterback. Okay. So I guess I got to go ahead and mention this since this is a headline, I guess. So it's official. Quarterback Derek Carr has been released from the Las Vegas Raiders. He got released before his $40.4 million in his contract became guaranteed. He's now a free agent, and the word is he's expected to draw interest from the Saints and the Panthers. Kevin says he seems like he really cares about the community. Yeah, I'll give you that. Like I said, he made a snafu, but he learned from it. He just made a snafu. That's all. But here's the thing. Now, don't get me wrong. Let's keep it real. Derek Carr is not a terrible quarterback. I'm sorry, but terrible 4-time Pro Bowl quarterbacks are not terrible quarterbacks. Yes, he doesn't have a championship, but let's keep it real. Derek Carr is not a terrible quarterback. A quarterback that has made 4 Pro Bowls, that is not a terrible quarterback. Now, my main thing is he's going to be expensive. And already Carolina has the cap space issue. Carolina has the cap space issue. Fandom says, talent-wise, Breeze was a beast. I would love for us to find a quarterback like Breeze. Facts. He is a beast as well. Did a little something with the Chargers, but blew up to a whole nother level when he came to the Saints. Kevin says, Derek Carr is a good quarterback. He's the Joe Flacco's level. Well, Joe Flacco has been kind of on a decline since winning the Super Bowl. But I feel you on that. So there's an article on here. Where could Derek Carr land? The NFL teams that could sign Derek Carr in free agency. This is a very interesting article. So I'm going to go through the teams, but I'm going to put the most focus on the Panthers because the Panthers are on this list. But the teams on this list: New York Jets, Carolina Panthers, Houston Texans, New Orleans Saints, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Atlanta Falcons, Indianapolis Colts, Washington Commanders, San Francisco 49ers, and the Tennessee Titans. Those are the teams listed in this article as potential best fits for Derek Carr. So we're gonna do the Carolina Panthers, since it's my team. We're gonna do the Carolina Panthers first. So they list the pros and cons of getting a Derek Carr. So for the Carolina Panthers, the pros would be, and it says here, and I quote, not the highest pressure market, and the bar has been set fairly low by the performances of his recent predecessors. The coaching staff with Frank Reich in charge, and you guys like Josh McCown and Jim Caldwell in assistant roles, sounds appealing. DJ Moore is a legit star receiver, and there's good young talent on the defensive side of the ball. They need to make some cap room to afford him, but it's there in the form of cuts and restructures if they want it. The division is a total toss-up, and the team finished 2022 strong. I mean, they did finish second in the NFC South. Okay. Here are the cons. They have the number 9 overall pick in the draft and could be thinking about taking a young guy to groom for their future, which could relegate Carr to a bridge quarterback role, and that might not be what he's looking for. It's a good point. It's a good point. Kevin says there are no pros with Carr, only some crying. Well, I mean, the dude is getting released. Kevin, where was this when Hines Ward was crying when he lost the Super Bowl? Where was this when Hines Ward was crying? When the Steelers lost the Super Bowl? Where were you then? Is Carr a Hall of Fame quarterback? Ooh. Dang, Kevin, that's a tough one. That's a tough one. I don't know. I mean, he's still playing, so there's still time to add stats, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Said by no means. I mean, I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, there's still arguments as to whether Cam Newton should make the Hall of Fame or not, but we'll see. But it's interesting. So if they wanted Derek Carr, they would have to make some cuts and restructures to make room to afford him. But there's that thing about, being a bridge quarterback, which, Carr is what, 31, 32, something like that. But I don't think you'd want that. Kevin says, would you take Sammy D as a quarterback? Honestly, I think we've ridden that ship enough. Me personally, I want somebody fresh, which means draft a quarterback. Because y'all know me. Like, the veteran prospect quarterbacks, it hasn't been working for us in the past handful of seasons. And I just think we need to start fresh, take a quarterback in the draft, and start developing that quarterback, developing Matt Corral. Like, just these veteran prospects that we've been taking on, it hadn't been working. It hadn't been working. So I mean, Vietnam says, my thing is this with Carr. He had all types of talent in Vegas, and he still couldn't win. How is he supposed to win here? Well, you have to also remember, Vietnam, he's been to the playoffs and gotten a lot more done in the past couple of seasons compared to what Carolina's been doing. And the quarterbacks that we've had lately versus Derek Carr, there's really no comparison. Just to be honest, there's really no comparison. So I mean, I get how some people feel about Derek Carr. I totally get it. But when it comes to how things have gone here with Carolina the last couple of seasons, when it comes to quarterback, we can't. I don't know if we can make that argument. I'm just saying. Like now I'm basing it on talent. I'm basing it specifically on talent. That's what I'm basing this off of. This specifically talent. But I mean, talent alone. I mean, I think it's easy and safe to say that Derek Carr has been better than Baker Mayfield and Teddy Bridgewater and Sam Darnold. I mean, that's 3 right there. So, Jeff R., welcome to the stream. Good to see you. Kevin is right. We do need a franchise quarterback. I agree. Vietnam says it would save us those picks to help build the team. And that's the thing too, being that that's another benefit that they're probably going to think about Vietnam since he got released. Wouldn't have to trade for him, wouldn't have to necessarily give up picks for Derek Carr. And that's probably why the Panthers are in, the headlines as potentially a team that might actually pursue Derek Carr, because they wouldn't have to give up picks for him. They just would have to pay him a decent amount of money, I would think. Fandom says, I'd rather have Sam stay for less money and draft Anthony Richardson. I think the thing with that is, would Sam Darnold take less money? I think that's the only thing. Would he actually take less money? Kevin says, do you think Carolina will win back-to-back Super Bowls ever? Back-to-back Super Bowls? I'm still waiting to win one. Back-to-back Super Bowls? I'm still waiting to win one. Shoot. Playoffs? Back-to-back Super Bowls? Shoot. We done already went there twice and couldn't win one. Shoot. I would like to win at least one before I die. Shoot. At least I got to see the Dallas Mavericks win a championship. But we'll see. Take less money than Carr, or in general? In general. Or at least compared to whatever he was last making, I'm thinking. Kevin says, I think the problem with our team is, why would any great quarterback actually come to our team if we're not good, right? Compared to teams that can enjoy more. I mean, who owns the high picks? Usually the crappy teams. And I mean, it's just a matter of, it's got to start somewhere. I don't believe a team. How can I say this? I don't expect for every single team to have a drought only but for so long. We have to remember, this is the NFL. This the pros. At some point, there are going to be teams a lot more successful than others, and some of those teams are going to be teams we least expect. And there's a handful of ones to keep an eye out for. Detroit, Jacksonville. Those teams are on the rise. Seattle. And y'all just saw how well Geno Smith played. And if they bring Geno Smith back, Seattle, great quarterbacks want to come to teams where they can thrive. Well, I think it depends. I mean, some teams, all they may need is a quarterback. We're not one of those teams. I mean, we still need other pieces. But, I mean, you build a team together. At the end of the day, one player can only do but so much. I mean, we're talking about a team with a 53-man roster that covers offense, defense, and special teams. So, at the end of the day, I mean, talent as well as execution and coaching are very important. And when you have all three, that's when you're the most successful consistently. And let's also remember, you're going to have players out there that are going to go where they will get paid, despite of what the record may be. You got some that will go where they will get paid the most. So that's something to keep in mind as well. But, everybody's different. Kevin says, I would love for a great quarterback to like our team. Guys would respect him. And I want that said guy to have fun here for the fans to watch. And you know what? With how this team is building up the coaching staff, that could garner some attraction as well. So another thing to keep in mind. That is why Cam was fun to watch, because he did enjoy the game with his friends like Steve Smith. Facts. So Tom Brady came to a team where the people around him were good, and he was great also. True. Fandom says, we need to find a quarterback that no one knew that he would become great and have him become great with us, like Anthony Richardson, 15. I am really curious as to see where he ends up getting taken in the draft, like whether it's round 1 or round 2. A lot of people are speculating round 2, but there's some that are speculating round 1 as well. But all the reports are saying that Anthony Richardson has the highest ceiling. But so that's for Derek Carr for the Carolina Panthers. They had the New York Jets on here as well. I'm kind of curious. Check this out. Derek Carr is a New York Jet. The pros, really good-looking young roster, complete with star-level talent at wide receiver, running back, assuming a successful return from injury by Breece Hall, and on defense. Heck, they have the current offensive and defensive rookies of the year in Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner. This team got pretty much nothing at all from the quarterback position in 2022 and was still in playoff contention in December. They're up against the salary cap right now, but there's plenty of contract fat on their roster that can be cut to make room. They might be desperate enough to outbid other teams for him. The cons, it's a tough media market for a guy who hasn't always demonstrated the thickest skin when it comes to criticism. The offensive line, mainly due to health, yes, was a major issue this year and looms as a potential question mark. Coach Robert Saleh likely enters the 2023 season on the proverbial hot seat, and players picking free agent destinations can sometimes be turned off by uncertainty in the leadership positions. Carr does not have a good record in cold weather, and the Jets don't have a roof on their East Rutherford, New Jersey stadium. That's funny. But Derek Carr on the Jets, I mean, the young talent part I definitely get. But if I remember correctly, the Jets have kind of dealt with injuries on the O-line, if I remember correctly. So I don't know. But the Jets, I mean, Unless they've truly given up on Zach Wilson, maybe Derek Carr could be their bridge for a while. I don't know. The Texans, while the Texans are on this list, I'm convinced that they're still going to draft a quarterback. So I don't think Derek Carr will land with the Texans, but let's see what it says. The pros. The rebuild could be a swift one in Houston. There are a few teams more flush with cap space. They have 12 draft picks, including numbers 2 and 12 overall, with which to build around him. His brother, David Carr, used to play there, so he and his family know the organization and the city a bit. No state income tax. The cons, they could use that number 2 or number 12 pick on a young quarterback, relegating Carr to that bridge role. They really do need to build up their roster on offense and defense, and even with their resources, that could take more than one offseason. The new coaching staff is very light on experience. And see, my thing with Derek Carr, I really believe whoever has him is going to be an expensive bridge quarterback, especially the teams where he would come as a bridge quarterback. He's going to be an expensive bridge quarterback. Let's just keep it real. Like, I'm expecting at least 25 to 35 mil a year for Derek Carr. And I could be way off, but I would think he's going to be expensive. He's going to be expensive. Because really, with bringing back Sam Darnold, not quite as talented as Derek Carr, he is a lot younger than Derek Carr. So at least there's that. Like if they just have to go with the veteran role, at least there's some benefit in bringing back a Sam Darnold if it came down to it. Okay, the Saints and Derek Carr. The pros. Warm weather, legendary music scene, and some of the world's best restaurants. Oh, wait, sorry. This wasn't supposed to be a list of reasons why I would want to go to the New Orleans Saints. Let's keep this on Carr. This guy's funny. He knows the Saints coach Dennis Allen, from whom he played with the Raiders early in his career. He'd be supported by maybe the best defense he's ever had. He has dynamic stars on offense with an Alvin Kamara and a Chris Olave. Also, the food, the music, the weather, etc. If that's his saying, I'm just saying. The cons, as in their custom, the Saints enter the offseason $11 bajillion over the projected salary cap. Oh, that's right. The Saints got a big old salary cap issue. At this time, there aren't tons of obvious moves to make that would clear out big chunks. As a result, the cap compliance moves the Saints might have to make just to afford Carr could weaken the roster significantly and make it a less appealing destination. We'll see. The Saints cap people are the best in the business at this, but it's going to be rough getting there this year. That's something to keep in mind, y'all. The Saints, I mean, we got our cap issues, but the Saints have some mega cap issues going into this offseason. And of course, they're in the NFC South, but they got some major cap issues to fix. A lot worse than us, that's for sure. Yeah, that could be big. That could be really big. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Derek Carr. It says here, the pros, their 2022 roster was good enough to convince Tom Brady to give it one more year. And they are two-time defending division champions, even if they were 8-9 last season. Mike Evans and Chris Godwin look like fun guys to throw to. No state income tax in Florida. Plus, Carr's record in cold weather is a bad one. And if you sign with the Bucs, you know that at least 10 of your games every year won't be in the cold weather. I guess. The cons. The only team in worse cap shape than the Bucs is the Saints, which means Tampa could need to make the kind of cuts that make this a less appealing roster than it was for Brady a year ago. How much job security will Todd Bowles and his coaching staff have if you don't win right away? Plus, it might be daunting to try and follow Tom Brady, even if this wasn't his best season. Ooh, that is a good point. That is a good point. And y'all want an interesting stat? Check this out. These top 5 quarterbacks, these are the top 5 quarterbacks that have the most regular season starts without a single playoff win. And these are active quarterbacks. Check this out. At the bottom, Teddy Bridgewater with 65 games started. At number 4, Jameis Winston with 80 games started. Number 3, Carson Wentz with 92 games started. Because remember, while he does have a Super Bowl, remember he got hurt. He got hurt. Therefore, he didn't start. Number 2, Derek Carr with 142. And then number 1, Andy Dalton with 162 games, regular season starts without a playoff win. Oof. That's a pretty bad curse, if you ask me. Jeez. Woof. Woof. Yikes. Okay, let's move on to the Atlanta Falcons and Derek Carr. The pros. A domed home stadium in a warm weather division is appealing. They project to have more cap space than anyone outside of Chicago, so they could afford to bring him in and still add players around him. Ooh. They were a competitive team for the bulk of the 2022 season, so there are already some pieces in place there. Coach Arthur Smith has a track record of getting the most out of his quarterbacks. Drake London and Kyle Pitts are a pair of very exciting young pass catchers. And then the cons. Picking number 8 overall, the Falcons are another team that could sign Carr in February and draft his replacement in April. There are offensive line concerns that would have to be addressed in the draft and in free agency. With the 2-time defending national champion Georgia Bulldogs up the road, the Falcons likely aren't even the most popular football team in their own state. Dang. But apparently the Falcons are going to have a large amount of cap space. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of moves the Falcons make. Because one thing on offense, they definitely got weapons. They got mad weapons. So something to keep in mind. Or Derek Carr could go to the Indianapolis Colts. The pros for that. They just hired a sharp, offensive-minded head coach from a team that was in the Super Bowl. That's right. They did pick up Shane Steichen. After what they've endured at the position over the past couple of years, the fan base is likely to embrace anyone who demonstrates any kind of competence, which he surely could. A fully healthy Jonathan Taylor would rejuvenate the kind of run game that any quarterback would love. The Colts are okay on cap space, and they could afford to pay him. The cons. Other than Michael Pittman Jr., they don't have a ton of guys for him to throw to. The offensive line and the offensive line and the defense underachieved in 2022, so you'd be counting on a turnaround, not to mention likely being asked to help engineer it. They have the 4th pick in the draft, and I'll be tempted to use it on a longer-term option if an appealing one is there. I think that's a fair assessment. That's a fair assessment. Okay, what if Derek Carr went to the Washington Commanders? Here's what the pros and cons say. The pros, they have a really fun young wide receiver group, a talented young running back, and a strong defense. It's a franchise that's been looking for a quarterback answer for as long as Carr has been alive. The likely sale of the team could restore some of the luster to what was once a flagship franchise for the league. They're middle of the pack in terms of cap space and would be able to afford them. Okay. The cons. At this writing, they still don't have an offensive coordinator. Ron Rivera is another coach who'll be on the hot seat. Watch going into next season, especially if the team has a new owner. It's a high-pressure market for a guy who bristles at outside criticism the way Carr does. And I don't know. Maybe things will change if the team gets sold. But there's something about this franchise. It just seems like bad stuff is always going on around there. Just kind of a high ick factor to the place, right? Not sure a ton of guys are dying to go play there. Yeah, I would say that's a fair assessment of the Washington Commanders when it comes to Derek Carr. Now, here's an interesting one. The San Francisco 49ers. This is an interesting breakdown. So check this out. Here's the pros. It says, 3 Sundays ago in Philadelphia, if the 49ers had literally any quarterback capable of throwing a forward pass, they might well have won the NFC Championship game and gone to the Super Bowl, which is a fair argument. That is a fair argument. We'll never know. What we do know is that their roster and their coaching were good enough to get them to the NFC Championship game after starting 3 different quarterbacks, including a 7th-round rookie during the regular season. If I were a quarterback of any age or ability level, I'd be very interested in going to the Bay Area, or in Carr's case, back to the Bay Area to play for Kyle Shanahan. Also, shout out to Christian McCaffrey, who made it all the way to the NFC Championship. The cons, they might not be interested. Shanahan said a couple of weeks ago that he was comfortable going with Trey Lance and or Brock Purdy, and that while they might need to look into adding a veteran to augment the group, it wouldn't be a big acquisition. Carr's likely to cost big money. The Niners might not be able to afford to offer him the kind of contract or opportunity he seeks. Yeah, definitely don't see it happening there. And then finally, the Tennessee Titans. The pros. Well, you can always turn around and hand off the ball to Derrick Henry. The Titans will be starting fresh on offense under new coordinator Tim Kelly. And if they decide to move on from Ryan Tannehill, as the mere existence of this blurb indicates they may not be in quite good enough position to find their immediate answer in the draft. They're picking 11th. They drafted a wide receiver in the first round last year, Treylon Burks, who could grow into a star. They always seem to be in playoff contention. Now for the cons. Even if they cut Tannehill, they'd still project to be about $4 million over the cap, and they'd have to do other work just to afford Carr. Even with a healthy Henry, this offense was one of the worst in the league last year and will need a lot of work to become competitive, even in the relatively weak AFC South. So, looking at these teams, to be honest with you, the only teams from this list that I could possibly see Derek Carr landing are the Jets, possibly not the Jets, the Buccaneers, the Falcons, Yeah, probably the Jets, Buccaneers, or Falcons, to be honest with y'all. Because honestly, I could see them potentially going the Bucks going Derek Carr as a way to potentially be a bridge as they continue to develop Kyle Trask. And the Jets, mainly because maybe the Jets really don't have their guy with Zach Wilson, perhaps. And the Falcons, I mean, I'm guessing going from Marcus Mariota to a Derek Carr would be an upgrade. I guess, as they continue to develop Desmond Ridder. So I mean, yeah, in all honesty, those are probably the three teams I could see Derek Carr landing. As far as Carolina, I'm not saying it's impossible, but I really wouldn't want it. I really wouldn't want it. But I do understand the benefit. I'll say this. I do understand the benefit of what type of moves they could make to land a Derek Carr and wouldn't have to sacrifice draft picks to do so. That's probably the only benefit that I could see in Carolina going after a Derek Carr. My main reserve is how much he would cost. Because as Vietnam said, I mean, they could just bring back Sam Darnold for much cheaper. And he's right. My thing is, I just wonder if in Sam Darnold's mind, because he did play decent until, the last straw, if maybe he would ask for more money. And not only that, Sam Darnold is younger than Derek Carr. He's still in his mid-20s. So, I mean, I'll say this. No, Derek Carr is not my first choice or something that I would like to see happen. Derek Carr coming to the Panthers. But when you really think about it, there's a couple of things that are just growing in my mind. So one, he would be coming to a team with a good offensive line, which I think, keep pounding nation. That's fair to say, right? He would be coming, and this is for anybody. Anybody would be coming to Carolina playing behind a good offensive line that could be on its way to being a top 10 or a top 5 offensive line with some tweaking. And of course, Austin Corbett and what's his face? Dang, I can't think of his name. Brady Christensen getting healthy. But I think with a little bit of tweaking, just a little bit, this offensive line could be on their way to being a top 10 or even a top 5. 1 second. Oh, well, hello there. Sorry about that. Okay. But he would be coming to a good offensive line. So at least there's a benefit there. 2, I mean, he would be an upgrade versus Sam Darnold on paper and talent-wise, he would be an upgrade. And third, like I said, we wouldn't have to give up draft picks to get him. It just would take restructuring some contracts, making some cuts, and then bam. But like I said, I can understand the argument now in going for a Derek Carr, but I am still 100% sticking to my decision on we should draft a quarterback and develop a quarterback. Get the guy we draft, let him and Matt Corral compete. We develop our guys. I'm sticking to that. And like I said, I'm very open as far as quarterbacks in the draft. I can't say that I have a favorite or a least favorite. I'm pretty open. And it's only because of my, my lack of knowledge when it comes to, the quarterbacks in the draft. I'll say that. I have no problem admitting that. Because like I said, college football is not my strong suit. It's not. It never has been. But I'm really liking how this staff is being built. And I'm just really looking forward to seeing the other holes that we fill in the staff. Because let's think. Because I'm sure we got a couple of things here. So Derek Brown. So Derek Brown's 5th-year option will cost the Panthers $11.66 million, according to Cat Crave. Wow, Derek Brown is about to enter his 4th year? Holy crap. Yeah. Wow. Dang. Derek Brown's about to enter his final year of his rookie contract. Dang, that was quick. I forgot he got drafted in 2020. Dang. Okay. According to Dan Orlovsky, he says the Panthers are the best fit for Derek Carr. Ugh. And you know what? Now that I think about it, I'm not so sure we even would have a shot at getting Brian Johnson. I mean, with Shane Steichen going to the Colts, I don't even know if we would even have a shot at Brian Johnson. I mean, I could be wrong, but it just made me think. It just made me think. But yeah, I don't know, y'all. I don't know. But I really feel that there's still some more holes to fill. I mean, still gotta figure out the Brian Burns contract situation. Still got to do that. But still got some work to do. Because let's see, we still got to add what? A wide receivers. coach, I believe. Yeah, we still got quite a bit. We need a wide receivers coach. We need a tight ends coach. We need a secondary coach. We need a D-line coach. Yeah, I think those are what we need. Yeah, so D-line, wide receivers, tight end. Hey, somebody call Greg Olson. Somebody call Steve Smith. Be like, hey, Greg Olson, I know you did a good job with the commentary at the Super Bowl and you look really good, but how do you feel about coaching? How do you feel about coaching? You know, you're such a phenomenal tight end. You are known as Mr. Reliable, and you played for the Carolina Panthers. You played in the Super Bowl. I was wondering, we could really use you with working with the tight ends. We haven't really had success at the tight end position since you retired and left Carolina. We would love to have you back for you to coach up these guys. Hey, Agent 89. I know you've put up many records and many great highlights with the Carolina Panthers as one of the greatest, if not the greatest, wide receiver to ever play for the Carolina Panthers. Always played with a chip on your shoulder. You always had the dog in you. How would you like to coach up these wide receivers and put the dog in them? But a man can dream, right? A man can dream, right? But yeah, y'all. You know, just to reiterate, I'm definitely liking how this coaching staff is shaping up. It looks great. It looks great. I can't wait to see how they continue to build on this. Can't wait. Joe Valesco. Hey, welcome to the stream. Joe Valesco, how you feeling? How you feeling? We got Duce Staley added officially. That's going to coach up our running backs. And then we brought on Jim Caldwell. How you feeling, bro? And you know, going back to the Jim Caldwell hire, I mean, senior assistant who's going to help with offense, defense, and special teams. It makes me wonder how he's gonna split the work. You know, how they're gonna, split the work. It'll be very interesting. Joel says, I'm feeling great. I wanted Jim Caldwell. All right. Right on. And, we know that he did interview for the head coaching position, didn't get it, but Frank Reich was like, I want him anyway. I want him anyway. So here we go. A lot of rekindling relationships and open opportunities to build on new ones. So, yeah. Joe Valesco says, what do you think about Derek Carr? So I was just talking about that a moment ago. So just in case you missed it, Joe Valesco, I read through a pros and cons article about Derek Carr. Do you want me to read it right quick again? If you missed it, just let me know. I'll be more than happy to. It's small. Yes? Okay, sure. So there was an article on ESPN.com, 10 teams that could have interest in Derek Carr. And the Carolina Panthers were one of the teams. But there's some pros and cons to it. So here's what the pros said for Derek Carr to the Carolina Panthers. It said, not the highest pressure market, and the bar has been fairly set low by the performances of his recent predecessors. The coaching staff with Frank Reich in charge and guys like Josh McCown and Jim Caldwell in assistant roles sounds appealing. DJ Moore is a legit star receiver, and there's good young talent on the defensive side of the ball. They need to make some cap room to afford him, but it's there in the form of cuts and restructures if they want it. The division is a total toss-up, and the team finished 2022 strong. Here are the cons. They have the number 9 overall pick in the draft and could be thinking about taking a young guy to groom for their future, which could relegate Carr to a bridge quarterback role, and that might not be what he's looking for. So, with that being said, Joe Valesco, I still do not want Carr. I'm still sticking to my decision. I do not want Derek Carr. I will say that I can understand the argument in going after a Derek Carr, because there are a few things. Number one, Derek Carr would be coming to a team with a good offensive line that even still has more room for improvement. So he would be coming to a team with a good offensive line. Secondly, coaching staff. He'd be coming to a team with a great coaching staff. 3, we wouldn't have to use draft picks to get him. Since he got released by the Raiders, the no trade clause is not a thing anymore. Wouldn't have to use draft picks to get him. So at least there's that. But here's the thing, though. As I've said before, number 1, he would be a very expensive bridge quarterback. Very expensive. Now, while he would be an upgrade to Sam Darnold, there's no denying he's an upgrade over Sam Darnold. The dude is going to be an expensive bridge quarterback. Plain and simple as that. 2, the fact of if he even wants to be a bridge quarterback or not remains to be seen. And 3, the whole veteran prospect all over again. We've already went through it. We've already went through it with Sam Darnold, Teddy Bridgewater, Cam Newton, Baker Mayfield, and yeah. And then we would be repeating the same thing with Derek Carr. I really think we need to start fresh. We need to start fresh. And let me also give you a stat, Joe Valesco. Derek Carr has started 142 games in the regular season without a playoff win. He is in the top 5 active quarterbacks for most regular season starts without a single playoff victory. At 142. How you feeling now, Joe Valesco? How you feeling now? Because I can imagine for them to get him, they're going to have to pay somewhere between probably 25 to 35 million like yearly salary for him. 25 to 35 mil a year for Derek Carr, at least, I would think. And we already have cap issues. They aren't as bad as the Saints, but they're still pretty effective. So that's the only thing with that. So I really feel like this is something that, while there are some pros, I just honestly don't think it's worth it. Just draft our quarterback, get our guy, develop our quarterbacks. We got Matt Corral, give him a shot to compete, and whoever we draft, give them a shot to compete. Because, like I said, I'm very open as far as quarterbacks in this draft. I'm very open, very open. I can't say that I dislike one more than the other. I mean, I can, look up and read and see, what some say versus others and take that into consideration. But I'm pretty open. So we'll see what happens, though. We'll definitely see what happens. But the headlines say that the Saints and the Panthers seem to be the front runners. Joe Valesco says if we get him, he can't mentor Matt Corral. We can, or do you mean he can? Is that what you meant to say? We get him, can't mentor Matt Corral, and we can still trade up in the draft to get a Will Anderson or a Jalen Carter. I mean, like I said, there's definitely benefit in getting Derek Carr as far as how it would affect the draft. There's definitely benefit there. I can agree with you on that. My whole thing is he's going to be expensive. Like how much are you willing to pay him? What adjustments? Yeah, I got you, Joe Valesco. But what adjustments are you willing to make in order to get him? Because he's going to be expensive. So that's really ultimately the main issue. Is just cost. And the last handful of veteran project quarterbacks haven't worked out. They haven't worked out. I mean, do we really want to go through this whole song and dance again? You got to ask yourself. But I mean, I hope it works out. I really do. But like I said, the three teams that I could see him going to, Joe Valesco, are the Jets, Falcons, or Bucks. Those are the three main teams I could see him possibly go to. The Jets, the Falcons, or the Bucks. Because as far as the other ones, the Texans, I think they're going to draft their guy. The Saints have a lot of cap space issues, a whole lot of cap space issues. The Bucks, I could see him being, the bridge quarterback there as they continue to develop Kyle Trask, perhaps. The Colts, I mean, they've already dealt with Matt Ryan and Carson Wentz, so I think they're going to draft their guy. The Commanders can't see it. The Niners can't see it, especially after Coach Shanahan's confident in sticking with Trey Lance and Brock Purdy. And the Titans, the Titans, I just can't see it. I just can't see it. So that's my thoughts on where I feel he could go. But I'm definitely very curious to see what happens with Derek Carr. I think there's going to be eyes on him for sure. There's definitely going to be eyes on him, and he could be. Him and Lamar Jackson, I think, are going to have the biggest eyes this offseason. Because, I mean, got to figure out. Now, I will say this. I could see Lamar Jackson being a lot more expensive than Derek Carr. But, which he is younger than Derek Carr. But still, Lamar Jackson is going to want to get his aid. He's going to want to get his aid. So I think Lamar Jackson is 1,000,000 gajillion% out of the question for the Carolina Panthers. Let me just tell you that. That's got to be out of the question. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Before I go, you know what? Let me talk about this article here on ESPN.com about the assessing of the NFL head coach hires. Because I didn't see this before. I want to go into this one before I cut it for the evening. So here's the assessment on Frank Reich to the Carolina Panthers. Frank Reich is the new head coach. So quick, and I'm just going down the list here. So quick recap. NFL background. Head coach for the Colts, 2018 to 2022. Offensive coordinator for the Eagles, 2016 to 2017. Offensive coordinator for the Chargers, 2014 to 2015. Quarterbacks coach for the Chargers in 2013. Wide receivers coach for the Chargers in 2013. Wide receivers coach for the Cardinals in 2012. Wide receivers coach for the Colts in 2011. Quarterbacks coach for the Colts in 2009 to 2010. Here's what Dan Graziano says. Okay? He says, and I quote, "If you look at the list of dudes Carolina interviewed, they definitely had a type. Obsessed with, at some point, getting the quarterback situation right. Team owner David Tepper interviewed offensive coordinator after offensive coordinator. We'd also heard early in the process that Tepper wanted someone with previous NFL head coaching experience. Wright fits both descriptions, which is probably why he ended up beating out interim head coach Steve Wilks, whose background is on the defensive side." Okay? That Wilks stayed in it until the end is a testament to the way the team performed during his tenure after the midseason firing of Matt Rule. But in the end, the focus on offense won out. It's easy to say they could have hired Wilks and then brought in a star offensive coordinator, but the fact is there are currently 11 offensive coordinator openings. So it's pretty tough to land a star offensive coordinator without making him the head coach. Lousy break for Wilks, who did what he could to earn the full-time job, although Wright is certainly qualified on a number of levels. Now, as was the case for him in Indy, the trick is to find the right quarterback. Makes sense. Makes sense. Okay. And then we're going to hear what Jeremy Fowler had to say. So here's what Jeremy Fowler says, and I quote, says, "From your points, Dan, a few themes emerged for me. Tepper leaned into the safe, risk-averse pick after the Matt Rule gamble backfired. Hiring Reich is like picking the sedan with good gas mileage for the road trip. It's sensible, not overly exciting, and that's okay. But it feels like Wilkes never quite had a chance because he did everything he could and remained in the background. Tepper set a tone for not hiring Wilkes the minute he said in an October press conference that Wilkes would need an incredible interim stint to potentially get the job. Also, the young offensive coordinators that the team targeted dating back to November either didn't convince Tepper to take a risk or needed another year to develop in the coordinator spot. I'm pretty sure 49ers defensive coordinator DeMeco Ryans would have been interested in this job had Carolina pursued a little harder." Well, it's like I said before, if we would have made the playoffs, this wouldn't have even been a discussion in the first place. So, and I still stand by that. I mean, the arguments are there and are valid, but if we would have made the playoffs, this wouldn't even be a discussion. I'm just saying. And then back to Dan Graziano. He says, "The elephant in the room, of course, is that Frank Reich is yet another white head coach hired over a black man in a league that acknowledges it has a diversity problem in its head coaching ranks." Here we go again. Reich was out of work less than 3 months before bouncing right back into a head coaching job, while Wilkes took on the very difficult task of piloting Tepper's team to the finish line and, by all accounts, did a good job with it. The statement put out in the wake of the Reich announcement by the law firm representing Wilkes and Brian Flores in their suit against league points to an ongoing problem for the NFL. With 4 openings still to go, the outside world obviously will be watching closely to see if coaches who get these jobs come from a diverse pool. 2 things can be true: that Reich is a good head coach who might well have been the right hire for Carolina, and that there is a significant, troubling double standard in the NFL when it comes to who gets second chances at these jobs and who does not. The only thing I'll say about that is, which, by the way, I'm glad Steve Wilkes was able to land in San Francisco as the defensive coordinator, because, like I said, the man knows defense. But the main thing I have to keep pushing, and I totally understand how others feel, but at the end of the day, organizations are going to look at what's attractive. And unfortunately, Steve Wilkes has a 9-19 head coaching record in the NFL. I hate to say it, but it doesn't take away from the fact that it's a fact. And it's not an attractive look. I'm just saying. I hate that it's that way, but a head coaching record of 9-19 isn't attractive. It's not. I mean, that's just gotta keep it real. Who do you want for our offensive coordinator? To be honest, I would have loved to have gotten Ben Johnson, but for the most part, I'm pretty open. Just, no Ben McAdoo. He's out, so I'm at least happy about that. But for the most part, Joe Velasco, I'm pretty open to an extent. I'm pretty open because there's a lot of guys that would have fit the bill personally, but I'm pretty open. I'm pretty open. Okay, the verdict on the hiring of Frank Reich for the Panthers from Dan Graziano. This is what he says. For me, it's all about who they get at quarterback. There's more good than bad on Reich's Indianapolis resume, but the inability to find a permanent solution at the most important position ultimately did him in. Ideally for Carolina, he'll be rejuvenated and they'll find him someone with whom he can win. I think if they get the right quarterback, they'll end up very happy with this hire. All right. And then going to what Jeremy Fowler said. He says, hold up. I just lost my spot. Here we go. Jeremy Fowler says, this is a B to B minus hire, somewhere in there. Solid, but a bit uninspired. Reich's Colts offense is ranked 9th in scoring in 2020 and 2021, so the offense should be solid. He's got talent around him. Players respect him. But does this hire scream championship? That's a fair question. That's a fair question. That is a fair question. Only time will tell. Joe Velasco says, I want Rich Bisaccia. Rick Bisaccia. Wait a minute. He was mainly a special teams coordinator. Wait, why would you want him, Joe Velasco? He was a special teams coordinator. Are you sure that's who you want? The dude is a special teams coordinator. He doesn't have any offensive coordinator experience. Like he was the most, I mean, he was a running backs head coach, or excuse me, a running backs coach, an assistant head coach. Did a lot in college. But yeah, he was a special teams coordinator most of the time. And he did have a stint as interim head coach with the Raiders. But why would you want him, Joe Velasco? He's not an offensive coordinator. He's special teams. Yeah, I don't get that choice. But he was a head coach for the Raiders, and the Colts interviewed him for head coach. Okay, but we're talking about offensive coordinator. He's never been an offensive coordinator. Are you saying that you wanted him as head coach? I mean, if you wanted him as head coach, then, I mean, that's fine, but I thought we were still talking about offensive coordinator, and he's never been one. Not to mention, he has a 7-6 career head coaching record. Ugh. Ugh. I mean, not to mention, he did win a Super Bowl with the Bucks as special teams coordinator. So I mean, is that someone who you wanted for head coach or for offensive coordinator? Because if you're talking head coach, then I mean that's fine. But if you're talking offensive coordinator, that makes no sense because he was never an offensive coordinator. He has no experience. Offensive coordinator. He has no experience though. He has no experience as an offensive coordinator though, Joe Valesco. So I don't understand your choice. He's never been an offensive coordinator before. He has zero experience. I mean, I'll give him the 7-6 head coaching record. That's fine. But it would make no sense to bring him in as an offensive coordinator, a spot that he has no experience in. The most that he's done on the offense is, you know, running backs coach and wide receivers coach, but that was back in college. That was back in college. Or actually, he did 1 year. He did 1 year as running backs coach in '08 with the Bucks, but that's it. Like, nah, I might have to disagree with you on that. I don't think that would have been a smart hire at offensive coordinator. And I'm guessing it's looking like Green Bay is going to retain him as special teams coordinator. But like I said, I guess there's a good chance that Frank Reich's probably going to call the plays, but I don't know. I mean, the way they're building this coaching staff, it'll be really interesting to see the direction they go at offensive coordinator. But I don't think that's. I have to get an idea and see who's available at offensive coordinator because hold on. I know let me see. Definitely want to get an idea of who's available. But I don't know. I wish there was a way to look to see who's available, but Now that I think about it, the Commanders still need an offensive coordinator. The Bucks still need an offensive coordinator. The Niners still need an offensive coordinator. Ooh, this is interesting. We still need an offensive coordinator. Apparently, the word is there's like 9 openings, supposedly. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Or actually, maybe. Yeah, I might have to do some research on that. But yeah, ultimately, I'm pretty open. But um, Eric Bieniemy, I highly doubt we're gonna get him. Why would he want to leave Kansas City? They just won a Super Bowl. Why would he want to leave Kansas City? Not unless he's going to become a head coach. Shoot. Shoot. If I was him, I wouldn't leave Kansas City unless it was for a head coaching spot. Shoot. He would be crazy if he left Kansas City to take on a different offensive coordinator position. Nah, no way. No way. No way. Wouldn't mind having him, but there's no way I could see him coming to Carolina. Not after winning a championship. Oh, correction. After winning 2 championships. Yeah. I don't see that happening. Well, like I said, for the most part, I'm pretty open, but we'll see what happens. We'll definitely see what happens. But anyways, I think I'm going to call it a stream. But let me know what y'all's thoughts are. For those that are going to catch this later, let me know how y'all feel about the hires of Duce Staley and Jim Caldwell. How are y'all feeling about Derek Carr, the idea of Derek Carr to Carolina? Do you love it? Do you hate it? It's looking like potentially Carolina could be in the running for him, but only time will tell. We'll have to see what happens. But the season's officially done, with the Super Bowl ending and the Chiefs defeating the Eagles. It was an incredible game for sure. But yeah, we're still building up this coaching staff. Like I said, they still need to get a tight ends coach, wide receiver coach, D-line coach, secondary coach, offensive coordinator. So we still got some more work to do, but it's shaping up great. Keep pounding, get hyped, get excited. This organization's going to do some things, but we'll wait to see what happens. But yeah, should be good. Should be really good. But don't forget to be sure to check out the link to Game Beauty, and also be sure to check out the links that I posted in the chat on Panthers.com about the hires. And don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell while you're at it. And yeah, keep pounding. We're going to get through this. A lot to look forward to. Let's do this. For another live Carolina Panthers talk brought to you by Blitzball Champ Gaming on the U to the 2. I'm your host, Blitzball Champ Jason Ingram. Thank y'all so much for joining me. And I hope everybody has a blessed Valentine's Day, although it's probably over by now. But once again, happy Valentine's Day. Hope everybody has a blessed day tomorrow. And I will see y'all in the next video. God bless. Peace.